to the latest in our Judges' Verdict series, where we speak to the chairs of the award shows about current issues related to the industry. I'm Jenny Baker, Assistant Editor at The Drum, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Tamara Pickett, who's Group Communications and External Relations Director for Virgin and Chair of the Jury for the Drum Awards for PR 2021. Hi, Tamara.
Hi, Jenny. Nice to meet you.
You too. So today we're going to touch on some of the biggest challenges over the past year, some of the ways that PR and communications have had to adapt, along with some key learnings, upcoming trends, and what it will take to catch the eye of the judges at this year's PR Awards. So I guess, Tamara, to kick things off, the growth and success of the PR industry is largely dependent on the performance of the specific industries. Obviously, budgets have been cut across many industries at the peak of the pandemic, and the impact of last year has been quite significant. So from your experience, what were the biggest challenges that you faced, and in what ways did you see PR activities and comms strategies having to adapt?
Yeah, so obviously it has been an incredibly challenging year for all communications teams, I think. First of all, was anyone really prepared for the pandemic? We just weren't. And we spend our whole life as comms professionals doing crisis communications, preparing for worst case scenarios. But in reality, how many teams were ready for a pandemic of this size? I think very few. So I think in terms of one of the biggest challenges was actually we all spend quite a lot of time, I think, crafting beautiful strategies and looking at years ahead. This is what we're doing in 2021, 2022. This is what we want to stand for as a brand. And strategies just had to be completely reworked. And I think for the planners amongst us and really looking to the future as a brand, that has been a tough challenge. So I think one of the key learnings we should all take away is actually we could be in this situation again in the future. So how do we prepare for a pandemic of this size? I think the other point you make is so crucial, and that's around budgets. Unfortunately, we have seen job losses, we've seen agencies disappear, and it's more important than ever that we can really demonstrate return on investment. So how do we make our campaigns and our comms work so much harder? And how do we demonstrate that return to our senior teams internally and really demonstrate the vital role that comms can play? I think the other big challenge for brands is around how do we show that we're giving back the right time? So if you think of some of those campaigns that launched during the pandemic, so I'm thinking about Pret, for example, and supporting workers on the front line, or Marcus Rashford and his school meals campaign, they really hit the spot in terms of what the public wanted to see at that point. And I think it's more important now than ever before that we really show our purpose as brands. So what do we stand for? How are we going to give back? And how can we demonstrate that on relatively small budgets, we can achieve a huge amount? So yes, I think a big challenge, but so many learnings that we can take forwards for the future and really set ourselves up for success.
Definitely. Well said. And of course, Virgin is renowned for grabbing its fair share of PR headlines. And I think, I couldn't miss the opportunity to ask you about, Richard Branson's recent space expedition and obviously some other big events over the last year. So where did the idea for that come from, and was it a successful mission?
Yeah, so space has been in the plans for many, many years. It's years of research and testing that has taken place by the teams at Virgin Galactic to get to the point of the flight a few weeks ago. And it was obviously an incredible success for us. It was really exciting to be part of it. How many teams around the world have the chance to work on space? It's very few. I think the teams at Virgin Galactic and Virgin Group did a fantastic job around the content to bring that to life. Visually, a very beautiful experience, but also space will have so many benefits for people on Earth, and that has been one of our key focus areas to really talk about that. But yes, it's been a busy year prior to that, and we've had so many twists and turns along the way. We have businesses that are involved in the travel industry, so we have cruise ships, we have planes, we have hotels, and it has been tough, but the comms teams have done a fantastic job of really bringing those industries back to life at the right time once government guidance changed. And during the pandemic, we really also wanted to focus on how we were giving back as a brand. So, for example, we had employees from Virgin Atlantic working on the front line around vaccinations. Teams at Virgin Orbit and Virgin Galactic were creating oxygen hoods and ventilators to help people who were really suffering. And so we quickly realized that we needed to really show how we were giving back. And we did some really nice online content around it. So I think, as all other contest teams have experienced, we've had some challenges along the way. We've had to adapt our strategy. The fact that we could actually do the space flights in July and have such a wonderful experience and comms moment, we were incredibly fortunate, and it was years of planning to get us to that point.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, I think the whole industry, PR communications professionals, were forced, like many others, I guess, were forced to learn new things and adapt along the way. What do you think has been the biggest change that we've seen over the past year? And what's the biggest learning that you would take away from the whole experience?
I think the biggest change is actually the editorial landscape has changed so significantly. So unfortunately, we have seen journalists, like many other professionals, not as many journalists anymore. There are journalists on furlough. And also the media landscape has changed. So unless you're talking quite rightly about the pandemic or travel routes reopening or job creation, actually there's quite a few challenges in landing a really strong story in the media. So I think we've all had to learn a new way of working with the media, working with journalists and understanding their appetite. And stories that potentially would have flown previously just aren't getting the same traction. So how do you adapt your strategy? How do you change your tactics? And that's the bread and butter of PR. How do we make sure we're doing what journalists want to hear from us? But I do think it's unlike any other time that we've seen. I mean, we found obviously in the pandemic as well, at the height of the pandemic, people are working from home. You're not getting through to the news desks in the same way you did before. You're not getting journalists on the phone the same way you did before. So we've all had to find a new way of building those relationships with our key journalists. So that the editorial landscape, huge shift. And I think we've all had to work hard on our influencer strategies and making sure our social really comes to life. Are there other ways outside of the traditional press release? Of course there are. So it's all around finding those new tactics. But I would say editorial, how that's changed, and now how we can make sure that we're really meeting journalists' appetite and giving them what they want.
Yeah, definitely. And and now obviously the industry is starting to bounce back a little bit. So what do you predict will be the biggest trend for the PR industry this year? I guess, what should people be paying extra attention to as we move forward?
I think in terms of extra attention, it is that purpose point. So what do you stand for and what do you want to be known for? You want your customers to know this is what you stand for, this is where your focus area is. And as a brand, as a Virgin brand, we do so much and we have so many companies across the world. So what we're really working hard on is making sure that our customers and really understand what Virgin stands for now and in the future. And I think, again, it's pretty much a basic of what brands should do, but the pandemic has changed our mindsets. We've had to, as I said, adapt the way we work, change our strategies, and I think now there's a really strong opportunity to bring our purpose even more to the forefront.
So obviously you're the chair of the jury for the Drum Awards for PR this year. And what will you be looking for in the entries? What will it take for a campaign to really stand out to you? Yeah, what would you look for in a winning awards submission?
Yeah, so I was part of the panel a few years ago, and it was just a brilliant experience and so great to meet judges from all across the industry. I would say one thing that really struck me at that point, and I think it will be the same this year, is around that budget point. So we had some amazing campaigns that had really large scale budgets. And then we had amazing campaigns with very small budgets. It didn't matter if it was small or large. The point was, how do you really demonstrate your impact? And the judges, I found all of the judges really drilling that point in every discussion. So I think the more that people can focus on, this was our budget, but this is the impact we achieved, and show really good use of budget, I think that's more crucial than ever. And I would say the other point that really came to life for me judging the last awards was around the personal stories. So again, it's something we should all think about, but the really effective storytelling that strikes a chord with people, that prompts a reaction. It doesn't matter if it's negative or positive really, but it is sparking that feeling in someone. And I think all of the judges were really focused on that emotional connection point. And I think if you can bring that to life through your award entries, it makes a massive difference, because of course we're reading words on a page and then watching some content in support of that. And it's how you bring that to life through your entry.
And some good advice in there. I guess, Tamara, to wrap things up, if you could summarize our session, leave our viewers with something, an actionable insight or a top tip ahead of the awards, what would that be?
I think an actionable insight would be, there are some fantastic campaigns out there, some brilliant work out there that's happened over the past few years or the past year in really tough times. And I think it is showing how you have been bold and creative in your approach. So that's what we want to see: bold, creative. There are new ideas out there, and there have been some fantastic ideas over the past year. So really bringing those to life through the award entry, I think, is crucial, as well as showing good value for budget and really showing how you have made a difference and achieved behavior change or increased a customer base. I think that is more important now than ever before.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, Tamara, for your time. I think that's been really, really useful. I guess we're looking forward to seeing who comes out on top when the winners are announced. Thank you, everybody at home, for watching. And for more information about the awards, please visit www.thedrumprawards.com. See you soon.